Hello there, welcome to the European Parliament in Brussels for Talking Europe on France 24. I'm Catherine Nicholson. Now, the European Union is known to many people for many things. Some know it as a peace project, some as a place where rules and red tape are manufactured, others as a union of values and principles. But at its heart, the European Union is built on trade and people doing business. Well, now the European Commission has just reached a trademark investment agreement with the most populous nation in the world, China. This after 7 years of talks. It aims to liberalise a business being done between the two giants. But there is outcry here at the European Parliament and from some civil rights groups, from those who say that there are serious concerns about human rights implications in China. Well, the European Parliament will get a vote on the agreement. Before that happens, let's hear some of the arguments with two elected members of this House. I have with me from Luxembourg, MEP with the centre-right European People's Party, Christophe Hansen. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
And we also have Spanish MEP from the Socialists and Democrats group, Inma Rodriguez Pinheiro. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So just talking about this trading and investment relationship itself, Christophe Hansen, coming to you first. You're the spokesperson for international trade for your group. Is this a good deal? Why is it necessary? The EU and China already do a lot of trade and business between themselves. Why do we need this?
Well, the European Union and China is the second largest trading partner of the European Union after the United States. But unfortunately, we don't have many rules in this relationship. And that's why it is important at this stage to bring, after 7 years of negotiations, some rules and grant to our European companies the same market access in China as already the Chinese are having into the European Union. So it's very important that we get finally rules and that we get the same fair competition between our companies and the Chinese companies. And that's the aim. Of course, is it a good or a bad agreement? We first have to read the text. The text is not yet available. So we will take the necessary time here in the European Parliament to scrutinize the text before committing to vote in favor or against, of course.
Inma Rodriguez Pinheiro, do you agree that there is a need to have a more formalised agreement?
Yes, in fact, we have been working for a long, long time asking for an agreement in investment in order to try to ensure a balance between a fair competences for European Union companies in China.
What does that mean, having fair competition? Just, we don't talk about trade necessarily every day among ourselves.
Yes, I think this is very important for people to know that European Union companies have to compete in different terms in China. What does it mean in practice? Well, it means that owned state companies, Chinese owned state companies, have the control of the power of the market, and it is exercised for our companies to participate in joint ventures is not possible. They have always to go with the companies that the Chinese authorities establishes. For instance, there is not a transparency in the region of subsidies that the Chinese companies receive. That is not the case for the European Union companies. And there are a lot of markets, particularly in services, but not only, also industrial markets, that they are closed. It is not possible to invest in these areas for European Union companies. Then, when we are speaking about the second power economy in the world, it is very important to compete in the same level, because if not, there is unfair competitions, and then China is taking more and more and more advantages that they are not justified for the rules of market.
So this agreement, as Christophe Hansen said, the full text is yet to be made available to you as MEPs, but it's going to be doing away with the need for European companies to have a Chinese partner company, as you just laid out. Also, not going to be these enforced technology transfers where European companies would have to share all of their technological secrets with their Chinese partners. So, as you said, you both see lots of advantages on the trade and investment side of this, but we have to bring up these human rights concerns that have been flagged by a whole host of members of the European Parliament and also civil rights groups. According to the EU readout about the agreement, the text only includes a commitment from China to make continued and sustained efforts to ratify the international conventions on forced labour, for example. Christophe Hansen, I'd put it to you that making an effort towards ratifying something is not at all the same as achieving this. Why not, on the EU side, hold off on signing this agreement until China has actually ratified these conventions?
Well, of course, time is running away. That's one thing. So the more we wait, on the one hand, our companies will suffer more. And I think under this very specific pandemic and the situation we are living, it is not to lose much more time. But still, you rightly mentioned there are serious concerns and as well breaches and violations of human rights going on in China right now. And we will have a very, very close look to that. We will here in the Parliament and I'm quite sure have as well, we want to see a very clear timeline of commitment to see how the ratification process in China is going to happen. We already did this, for example, in our discussions with Vietnam. It was the same, so the Parliament will be very strong on that. And then you don't have to see this as an isolated act, this trade and about this investment agreement, because we are as well elaborating parallel EU-only measures. For example, the international sanctions mechanism for the respect of human rights. This is a new mechanism that has been adopted in the early December, and this will allow us then as well to freeze equity and money from those who are in clear violation of human rights. This will be our flanking measures, the so-called Magnitsky Act. And there, of course, we are waiting now for the Council and for Josep Borrell, the High Representative, to come up now with these lists. The thing is as well, we will have in the Council unanimity on this. So I hope that the Council here on human rights is really being serious and comes forward with these lists that are enforceable. And with these elements and tools that we will get, we will be able to, with different elements, to really focus human rights violations. And this Parliament has given to Ilham Tohti, the Uyghur spokesperson, the Sakharov Prize for Freedom of Thought. We will stand behind him, and I think this Magnitsky Act will help us to get there.
Inma Rodriguez Pinheiro, do you believe that all of this is sufficient, or the same question
Well,
really?
I think that
shouldn't this be baked in before the agreement is signed, is the question?
I think that this agreement is an important step forward, but it's not enough. It's not enough because, well, we are not speaking about the relation between European Union and China. This is a more complex that he has already said. But this agreement, I think, is a step forward because it's for the first time, China has made some compromise, some commitments in terms of forced labor. Are they enough? No. Because the problem is that China is not a country with inspires confidence, because there are a lot of issues where China has not implied in the rules. No, that is why we need a strong compromise in the agreement in order that all what is said is going to be followed. It's going to be done. On the other side, in order to be able to influence, to have a higher level of leverage from China to follow the human rights rules, it's important to have a complete level of instruments. For instance, it's very important that we have already now a human rights instruments with a sanctions regime for the first time. Now it's very important that this has to be implemented. But an investment agreement is not the efficient instrument in order to make China to follow the human rights rules. And I have a very good example that this Parliament achieved in the two periods ago, referring to the imports from Uzbekistan, cotton imports from Uzbekistan. It was this Parliament who exercised the Commission to stop imports coming from this country because there was a very childhood forced labor. And we exercised the ILO, the International Labour Organization, to make Uzbekistan to follow the rules in order to finish with this exploitation before we restarted the imports from this country. And it was very effective. That's why I think the instruments that we have to use is to stop imports from those products coming from the regions of China where there is forced labor, Xinjiang.
But does the European Union necessarily know where that is happening? China isn't necessarily always open about what's going on inside its own borders.
Well, the thing is that this is something you can do it. And this is not a matter of an investment agreement. Investment agreement has an objective is to level the competence. And the instruments, the tools that the European Union has and that the European Parliament are working with is to establish sanctions in order to avoid these things happen. Because it's not acceptable at all to have this type of ways of production under the esclavitude of the labor force.
We've only got a few seconds left, really, a few seconds. So we are, of course, waiting to see the full text of this agreement. What's your sense at this point? Do you believe that the European Parliament will back it?
Well, it depends upon. I have not read it.
Wait and see.
The agreement we have to study and we have to debate a lot.
Well, I think what is important is that these flanking measures that I mentioned, namely the Magnitsky Act, will be effective and used, and therefore the Council needs to be very forthcoming. And that's why, if this is going to happen, we have the tool to control as well human rights violations, and then we can go forward.
All right, a little bit of wait and see from both of you then. Well, I'd like to thank you both, Christophe Ancen and Inma Rodriguez-Pinheiro, for taking part in our conversation today. Thanks to you for watching. See you soon on France 24.